The hosts feel it would be a little unkind to present this podcast without just a word of friendly warning. We are about to unfold the story of Frankenstein, a man of science who sought to create a man after his own image without reckoning upon God. It is one of the strangest tales ever told. It deals with the two great mysteries of creation, life and death. I think it will thrill you. It may shock you. It might even horrify you. So if any of you feel that you do not care to subject your nerves to such a strain, now's your chance to. Well, we've warned you. Hello, and welcome once again to the Frankencast. I'm the mad scientist, Anthony Bowman. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm joined this week by...
a sentient bowl of squirming screws named Alex Heichelbech.
So we're here this week with a movie that we've been talking about trying to do for a while now. I'm excited to finally get to it. Vampire Girl versus Frankenstein Girl, another Japanese movie. So of course we had to bring in our ringer for all things Japan.
I want to sincerely apologize for this one. I didn't know this was going to be as weird as it was. This was a lot.
Yeah, really the only thing I knew about this going into it was something we had talked about, that there's like a sort of subculture in Japan with like a youth subculture that incorporates blackface, and that did not even begin to scratch the surface of what we see in this.
It wasn't the worst part, which I don't know. I don't know if you usually do content warnings because this being a Frankenstein thing, but like self-harm was the much more disturbing part of this than the kind of culturally insensitive. And we'll talk about it. It wasn't as culturally insensitive as it was kind of mocking a part of Japanese culture, not American culture. But we can get into that. The self-harm thing was considerable.
And again is sort of mocking, like it's really taking this lightly, like to a degree that I was like, even when it first happened I was like, oh wow, this is something, and then it keeps going. But yeah, we'll get to that when we get there. But so the movie starts out with a weird thing, because like, I mean, this is, it's a Japanese movie, it's very much like about Japanese culture in a lot of ways, but like it still starts out telling you this thing that I would assume that most viewers probably know. I did not know, so I guess it was helpful for me. But in Japan, it's traditional for girls to give boys chocolates in order to confess their love.
Yeah, so in Japan, February 15th, Valentine's Day, girls will give chocolates to boys. 1 month later, March 14th, is called White Day, and then girls will reciprocate that. So Valentine's Day is like a two-parter in Japan. So they're obviously referencing the Valentine's Day portion of it.
So we start, like, we just get that as like a title card, and then we have this sort of like very serious voiceover from who will ultimately be our sort of main character, and he says like, life is hitchhiking, you have little control over the destination, you're just kind of pulled along in the stream. And then we just like go into a fight. Like we see them in the main character and this woman with like an eye patch and she's
pretty beat up as well. They're in the back of like a truck, and then they're walking down the road. So I guess they needed him in the truck, so the hitchhiking metaphor made sense, because then they're just walking down the road and they're confronted with 3 poofy haired zombie Frankenstein girls in school uniforms.
Yeah, and like we can tell, they've got the stitches, they've got like, electrodes and stuff, and also their heads can twirl around. And
becomes very relevant very quickly also. They attack our, wounded hitchhiking couple that are walking down the road. Again, the notes I put for this are insane. So The 3 poofy-haired zombie girls are wielding tools. Like, one's got a pickaxe. The others have, like, just some, like, knives. I think one of them has, like, some really, like, oversized box cutters. And then I just wrote, main character kicked into beach fridge. Because there's a whole refrigerator sitting on the beach. and our male lead gets kicked into that, and he's out of the fight.
Yeah, one thing that I really did think was fun about this movie is, like, there's so many movies where there's, like, you know, a bunch of, like, dudes fighting, and there's, like, a completely useless woman who's just kind of thrown around. And in this, it's the reverse. Like, this guy is just there to, like, you know, be a bargaining chip between the various, you know, women in the movie.
Yeah, he contributes nothing at any point in this entire play, which I was saying before. He's the only actor that came out of this and had a successful career. So he's useless, not a very interesting character, and I guess maybe being that it's hard to typecast him because he was just a background actor more or less, and he had a really successful career, so I feel bad for everyone else, but congrats to him, I suppose. But he gets kicked into the beach fridge. The girl that he's with roars like a jaguar. Not like a jaguar, it's just a jaguar soundbite. And then I put, she degloves one zombie girl's head with her teeth. Mm-hmm. She peels it like one of those rotary apple peelers. Like you said, their heads can spin. She grabs a hold of, like, she bites into their neck and then pulls, and their neck spins and just, it unpeels in one long strip of flesh. It even had like a woo 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 woo.
Yeah, I said it looked like a Beyblade.
Yeah, a Beyblade. I love that. And it's like goofy sound effects for the whole thing. Like, throughout the film, all of the fights, they are identical to me to the fights that we saw when we were little in, like, Power Rangers. Like, a lot of the fights are filmed from, like, a Dutch angle. Like, you're always filming from below the person. It's these super quick cuts, overdone kind of sound effects. They're still really well done, and the gore and costuming is incredible.
Yeah.
This is Yoshihiro Nishimura, the same guy that did Tokyo Gore Police from 2008, the year before.
Okay.
So he knows what's up when it comes to making stuff look nasty. But it was weird seeing, Power Ranger style fight scenes, but with guts and bones and eyeballs and whatnot.
Yeah.
Available.
Yeah, so I think, once she pulled, like, the one girl's skull goes, like, flying, it lands on the ground, and then...
well, no, she pops the skull off, she kicks it at a second girl, and that skull bites her face, pulls her face off, and then the second girl's skull pops off, and then they both land one on top of the other on the beach.
Right, yes, okay. And so then the last girl, as you said, there's one girl that has, like, a giant, like, cartoonishly large box cutter, and she, like, swings it at the vampire girl, who, like, blocks it with, like, her, like, crossed wrists, which causes both of her wrists to get slit at the same time, which results in, like, her ejecting, like, these giant blood blades out of her wrists.
Yeah, I said, Houston, we have blood swords, is what I wrote down. So, like, Chainsaw Man is a ripoff. You know, there's the girl in that can make... I guess this is a popular thing in a lot of anime, is, like, blood-based weapons. But, yeah, she can make swords out of blood on her arms. Pretty cool.
Yeah. And so that, I think then she like, uses the blood blades to, like, bisect the last girl, I think, like, crotch to head.
Yeah.
Which, like, I think the head gets sort of, like, ejected into the air and lands on top of the other two. So we have, like, a little pile of 3 skulls.
Yeah, it's a popular thing in Japan whenever and I've seen it in America as well. When you go to the beach or go to the river, you get, like, flat kind of skipping stones and see how high you can pile them up. That's a popular, like, children's pastime at the beach. So that was kind of what I thought is, we've done that. Because our main character, Monami, who we find out, sorry for spoiling that, this is Monami, the girl that we're seeing. She's very childlike. Like, she has a very almost elementary school child-esque personality. So that was my kind of thought, is she's, stacking up skulls on the beach like you would normally stack rocks on the beach when you're visiting.
Yeah, I think there's definitely, like, a tendency to have, like, people who are turned into vampires at, like, young ages, like, tend to sort of, like, like, there's the Kirsten Dunst in Interview with a Vampire, is, like, a big one. But, I mean, this girl is, like, high school age. Like, she shouldn't be quite that childish, but she does just have that kind of demeanor about her.
Yeah.
And then when we get the pile of skulls, we cut to a title card, February 14th, St. Valentine's Day, Ultimately, it becomes clear that we're flashing back. But to start with, I was kind of like, okay, what's going on? Where are we now?
This movie did some weird things with time. This happens a lot where two characters will be having a conversation. For reasons I don't fully understand, we'll cut away from their conversation. We'll see 2 or 3 other groups of people doing stuff not in any way related to that conversation. And then we'll jump back to their conversation right where we left off. I was like, what's the... Like, it's like they had this thing get edited. They were just throwing darts at a board to edit scenes together.
Yeah, it's very it's almost like Family Guy or something, you know, where like we make a reference and we cut away to some unrelated thing and then back to where we were.
That's true.
There's something very cartoonish about everything about this movie, really. But I was definitely like, so we're in a classroom, and I was very confused by this. It took me a while to figure out what was going on, even with the like opening title card. We have this like mean teacher who's like, baggage check time, and he starts digging through all of the girls' bags and stealing little wrapped gifts, which, you know, I don't know why I didn't make the connection right away, but these are the chocolates that these girls have brought to school to give to boys, and I guess the teacher thinks that this is, you know, wasting class time or shouldn't be done at school or whatever, so he is confiscating all of their chocolates.
Yeah, I wrote during that scene, 4 minutes and 45 seconds into the film, blackface. That's where we get our first example of this, like, it's called gangyaru, which means, like, burned black appearance, or, like, burned black skin. And there's a fashion thing in Japan where traditionally in Japan, like, pearly white, milk white skin is considered very beautiful. So a counterculture thing was to, you know, fake tan, spray tan. And then it became to like, oh, well, instead of just tanning your skin, you know, a kind of tan color, why not just have black skin? Like, you know, someone that's of African origin. And it didn't have the same negative connotations in Japan that, you know, blackface has. But here they go further, that they're not just wearing blackface makeup. They have lampooned like physiological changes. Like the one character has overly enlarged lips and like pronounced cheekbones. One of the other characters that's doing this is carrying a spear and has like a plate in their lower lip and is, you know, mimicking like an African culture. So in America, this would have been like a complete and total no-go. Like, you haven't been able to get away with this since the 70s.
Yeah.
Here, in Japan, I should say, it doesn't have the same degree of negative connotation. It's still very jarring to watch as an American.
Yeah. I was, you know, like, I was... So the normal thing is just they're darkening their skin. That's what you would actually see. Okay. Because that's what I was expecting. Donald
Trump-esque, orangish glow. Like, enough that it's very obviously fake. But it's definitely not making yourself look like you are of African heritage.
Yeah, like one of them has an afro wig. I think one has like fake dreadlocks. They have like fake noses. I mean, it's very, very pronounced. And we also in this point see the first sort of like hint about the self-harm thing, in that the teacher takes chocolates from a girl who like just has a box cutter in her purse, and he just leaves the box cutter with her. He's only concerned about the chocolates.
And she immediately just starts like running that across her wrist in like a very manic sort of way. So he steals gifts from everybody. One of the girls he steals from, or takes a gift from, Keiko, who is part of a kind of Lolita group. They've got, you know, a bunch of pretty puffy clothes. They look like, you know, Japanese idol singers. She screams for her father, who we find out is the assistant principal, which never becomes relevant, but is also a science teacher. You can tell he's a science teacher because he runs into the classroom wearing a lab coat and holding a beaker with blue fluid in it to really drive home. I wonder who this could end up being in the course of our storyline, Anthony. It could be anybody.
I was surprised because, like, yeah, he's a vice principal and also a teacher, which seems weird, but he's also like a coward. Like, he's in a position of authority, but like he really kowtows to this other teacher. And you know, the teacher's like, you know,
says to his daughter, he's really scary, and if he gets upset, he'll be very mean to me. So yeah, this kind of just very like muling Quim. I think I like calling someone a mewling Quim. Just not a very confident or strong character.
Yeah, his solution is, once you get out of school, I'll buy you some more chocolates, dear. Like, we're not gonna try to take these back from the teacher. I'll just buy you some more. And then we cut to that teacher bagging up all of this stuff, taking them outside and giving them to a hunchbacked janitor who throws them in an
Which, again, could be anyone in the course of this movie. There's no way to know who this is going to be. I'm surprised he didn't have a name tag on. Right. And yeah, the hunchback janitor throws the bag of assorted treats into a furnace, which is something that a lot of schools, especially in rural areas, will have.
Okay.
Another bit, a lot of times when it shows an exterior shot of the school, it makes it look like the school is under Tokyo Tower, a very well-known, it's like a orange and white kind of Eiffel Tower looking building in Tokyo. Mm-hmm. It makes it look like the school is almost under that. There's no school that close to Tokyo Tower. But then later when there's shots from the roof of the school, it's very obviously in like a super rural, like surrounded by rice fields and mountains kind of school. So immediately took me out of the film. It broke my immersion. Let's see, where did we go next?
So next
it's so random.
We see a poster. So there's a poster about the 13th nationwide high school student wrist cut rally, which I assumed was going to be a rally like, we shouldn't do this. Like, let's talk about self-harm. Let's raise awareness.
You foolish summer child.
But no, this is a rally, like a competition. This is a contest to see who can cut their wrists the best.
Yep.
And yeah, we have like, it's like a debate club or something. But so we have a team. There's like a girl who's the leader. She's showing them exercises. So it seems to be the idea is you want to have built up really strong skin so that you can self-harm in a way that's not going to be fatal. You want to just cut for fun or whatever.
We're never read the rules. You kind of understand them a little bit, like later when we see the actual competition happen, where as best I can tell, and again, I Googled it, turns out it's not a real thing, thankfully. But the rule is to do as much damage to your wrist as possible with a box cutter without cutting your arm off. Appears to be the only rules to the competition. So yeah, by toughening up the skin on your arms, you can do that. And the way they played these characters, they all have like long hair over their eyes. They're like very twitchy. They're playing a very like obvious schizophrenic, just someone with severe mental problems. Mm-hmm. They're definitely ramping that up considerably.
Yeah.
For the characters.
And we go from that to our boy, who will finally get his name, is Jugon Mizushima.
Jugon Mizushima.
I did notice that like there's like two girls that sort of interact with him, and one calls him Jugon and the other one calls him Mizushima. And I wasn't like, I know Japanese, it's the second name is the given name and the first name is the family name. So Mizushima is his family name, correct? Am I?
Yes.
Okay. So it would be more formal for someone to call him by that than his given name. Okay.
Correct.
So he is approached by Monami, who she uses his first name or his given name, and she's like a new transfer student. He doesn't know her very well. She reminds him they're in that the class we just saw together. Mm-hmm. And she was like, you might not recognize me because I skip class a lot, if I'm honest. And,
she sleeps in the nurse's office a lot. She doesn't really go to class.
Yeah, and she's pretty quiet when she's there, so she's pretty easy to overlook. And he does, he's smart. Then he's like, oh, I should say something nice. So he compliments her cape. She's like, oh, thanks. It was a gift from my mother. And she,
which it's like a little Red Riding Hood, like it's a hooded cloak.
Yeah.
That she wears around all the time.
And she managed to hide her chocolate from the teacher, so she wants to give him a chocolate. And he accepts the chocolate and bites into it, and he's like, it's a different taste. It's good, but it's strange. It kind of reminds me of like, does he say like when you suck on your finger after you cut it or something?
Yeah, well, first he says umai, which is like delicious. Like, oh, this is delicious. He's like, wait, it tastes familiar. Oh yeah, it's that taste you get when you suck on your finger after you cut your thumb slicing vegetables. And then he's like, it's blood. So this guy's an idiot. And then he looks down at the chocolate, and it's just like gushing. I mean, it was like a gusher that's just full of very obviously human blood. And he doesn't seem nearly as upset by that as he should.
Yeah, and then he immediately goes into like this sort of psychedelic blood freak out or something.
It was so cool. There's like European industrial techno playing. He sees people walking past, and all of a sudden the people disappear, and it's just a walking circulatory system that he can see. The screen goes white, and there's these giant mandalas made out of blood that are just soaring past his vision. It was insane. I don't know where that came from. And then he snaps back from it and is like, wow, that was a lot.
Yeah.
But then before he goes to confront Monami about the chocolate, it cuts over to another school club, which is the Super Dark Club, which is our 3 Yangaru Africanized students. And this is where I was like, this is going to be very uncomfortable and awkward and horrible. But it's all very like complimentary stuff. And someone obviously like did their research. Like they start chanting, "Yes, we can," because she brings back how incredible Obama is.
Yeah.
She talks about how she wants to keep training her legs so that she can be incredibly fast, like Florence Joyner. She even starts chanting Joyner. So like someone did some research. So again, from an American perspective, very culturally insensitive, but like they put some time into it.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know what else to say about it.
I mean, if you keep in mind that these are like high school students have a tendency to want to do sort of edgelordy things. This is when you have like kids who, like, now I feel like it's a little different just because of like the cultural landscape. But I feel like when I was in high school, you would see sometimes kids like draw swastikas on things, and like there was no fascist movement happening in America the way there is now. It just was like, this is an edgy thing, it feels like that, and like they talk about like they don't drink lattes, they only drink black coffee because lattes, that's basically like Michael Jacksoning, like you're turning everything white, and we like real black stuff, like fully black, like. So yeah, it feels earnest and stupid in a way that only a high school student can be.
Yeah. I like that much better because it doesn't come across as racist. They're not, mimicking anything in a way that's offensive. It's just like, hey, we're a huge fan of this look and this culture, and we're going to get involved in it. That's a much better version than what I had built up in my head about like, how do you justify this? And I don't think we don't have to justify this.
Yeah.
So yeah, we cut to them and we see, this is where I was talking about these cuts that don't really make sense, because we cut and see the club. Then we cut back, I believe, to Mizushima confronting Monami about the chocolate he just ate.
Yeah. And he's seeing the circulatory systems, and he's like, if I really focus, I can see people. But like, I've never seen this done before, but it felt like, in a cartoon when like someone's starving and suddenly their friend looks like a fried chicken or whatever. Like, like as a vampire, like what would you see a person as other than like a walking blood bag? Like it makes sense that like you sort of dehumanize that person and just turn them into a food source. But it was just like, I've never seen that done before. I thought it was kind of neat. And she's like, I'm glad that you were a genetic match. The chocolate, it was my blood in the chocolate. I want to live the rest of my life with you. But we'll talk about it later. You're only halfway there, but I got to go. The sun's getting a little bright. And so she leaves.
We also find out, and I think this might have happened a little bit earlier, that Mizushima, our male lead, had kind of been bullied into a relationship of sorts with Keiko, the girl that freaked out her father's the science teacher. Had been kind of surrounded by her and her Lolita gang friends, been like, Keiko's very beautiful and she's the most popular girl in school and you're so tall and handsome, and very obviously a 27-year-old man. You can tell by his beard that's like he's having to shave in between scenes. And so he had kind of been browbeaten into being in a relationship with Keiko. He never even said like, yeah, sure, why not? they just kind of hassled him and they were like, okay, it's official.
Yeah.
So Keiko and her friends at this point are convinced that Mizushima is, in a relationship. So that's going to cause some tension later when they find out about this Monami woman.
Yeah, in fact, I think that's the next scene is they see her walking off and they like confront him and they're like, are you cheating? Which, of course, like he didn't really consent to the initial relationship, so it's certainly not cheating.
He didn't really consent to eating her blood and becoming a familiar either, so it's been a rough day for Mizushima so far. Not one of his top 3 Valentine's days, I don't think.
Yeah, and I think I forget exactly how it's played out, but like you can tell that he's kind of like tempted, that he wants to bite her, or that I don't think they turn her fully into a circulatory system, but they do something where like you like maybe just zoom in on her neck or something, and he's like, oh, I can't do that, and he just like runs off to avoid.
Yeah, he looks at her neck and he's like, I can hear it. And it does again kind of this smash cut zoom where we can see like a camera inside of a blood vessel as red blood cells go. Yeah. And then he is kind of like, oh no, and pushes past Keiko and her little gang of Lolita girls and chases after Monami to figure out what's going on. I think there's another cut here. And is this where we see another student getting kidnapped? And we get reintroduced to the vice principal, or am I getting my stuff out of order? Because, man,
I think that's coming up shortly. This is the cutaway where the Cutter girls are celebrating their anniversary of when they started being Cutters, and they give the leader a bag of spinach to help with her anemia.
Because, spinach is high in iron. We've all learned this from Popeye. We've seen it. And she's, horking down spinach while the rest of them practice small cuts on their arm to toughen up their arm skin.
Yeah. And then we meet another sort of main character that we haven't gotten to yet. Mrs. Midori, the pheromone-laden school nurse is the way Jugon describes her.
Smoking hot is what they meant to say. She's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Sayako Kamatani, who's like a model and kind of gravure idol, just an incredibly gorgeous woman who's playing a hot, pencil-skirted school nurse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just straight up in like a sexy nurse Halloween costume, basically. And then, and then later, there's a point where she's in an even more sexy nurse version of it. Like this one is still like.
Yeah, I rewatched that scene a couple times just so I could get really good notes on it. That was, we'll get into it, but I kept waiting for nudity in this one, and there was never any there was nothing. No fan service or anything, which is kind of wild for a movie that went so hardcore on gore. Usually the two go hand in hand in Japan, but they kept it pretty tame.
Yeah,
which I was surprised by.
I was about to say maybe it's because they're high school students, but like Japan is not afraid of like making.
That doesn't matter. It does not matter.
But yeah, so we meet the school nurse because Jugon has gone in there because he's feeling weird. Something's going on, and he talks to her for a minute. But then we see that Monami is also in the nurse's office, and she's like, "So are you starting to crave blood? Is that why you came in here? Is that starting to kick in yet?" And he's like, "Yeah. What's going on?" And she's like, I'm a vampire. Like you haven't figured this out. You drank my blood, now you're half vampire. If you drink some more, you'll turn full vampire. And so she like bites her lip so that they can do like a sexy blood kiss. And he seems like he's into it, like they're gonna kiss. But then they're interrupted when Keiko bursts into the nurse's office
and sees them about to kiss.
And she slaps Monami, and we see this drop of blood that was on her lip go flying across the room and landing on the floor.
I hate to correct you. She tries to slap Monami, and we have a full-on Matrix style, like she leans way back out of the way, and the blood drop flies to the floor. It's also worth mentioning, I think, during the I'm a Vampire silly, we learned that Monami's full name is Monami Arukado, which is the Japanese phonetic spelling for Alucard, or Dracula backwards.
Oh, nice.
So her family name is Alucard. So in case we really weren't understanding what was happening, her name is Monami Arukado.
That's really good. I would not have caught that. And Monami, it seems to me like it seems like the French, like mi amour, like it's like a love thing. I don't know how that.
Yeah, so Monomi is an established name in Japanese. I don't know if it's one that existed before, because it is also that nice kind of, double entendre. Monomi is my love. Mm-hmm. So I mean, her name, and in Japanese you would do, your family name first. Her name is Dracula, my love, which is that's probably the brainiest part of this whole movie. Yeah. I didn't dislike this movie. It was just I kept waiting for it to be like, oh, there's some cool symbolism here, and that never showed up. So, yeah.
Yeah, this is...
So yeah, the little drop of blood lands on the floor.
Yeah.
And then Keiko storms off in a huff, like, you're gonna get yours, Monomi. No one steals my boy. And our poor man, Mizushima, is still just stuck in the middle of all this.
Yeah, and so as he's leaving the nurse's office, he notices the hunchback janitor and is like, he's a new guy, I don't recognize him. And then this is when we see the student getting kidnapped.
Yes.
We have them kind of like we see hands reach out from a hallway. We don't see whose hands they are, and they pull the student back, and they get like injected in the neck with some syringe,
gigantic syringe of a pale blue fluid, the same fluid that certain vice principal and science teacher had in an ampule earlier. But we can tell when the student is grabbed, it's a female hand, because we can see fingernail, done up fingernails.
And we cut straight from
and
that.
Now it just gets ramped up to 1,000,000.
This is I like. So we go to Keiko's dad, the vice principal, in his secret lair below the school, and so it seems like it's kind of like a Clark Kent Superman thing. Like, he's playing up this cowardly vice principal as like a disguise, because he's actually an absolutely insane mad scientist who wears like crazy like kabuki makeup or something, and he's like, I am the new successor to Dr. Frankenstein. Well,
the nurse is there with what are called hyoshigi, which are the two hollow wooden blocks that they clink together, do that kind of like ding 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 ding, which is kind of the kabuki equivalent of like flickering the lights, or like letting people know like, hey, a scene is starting, as they'll start clinking those blocks together. So he is in full kabuki outfit, like white wig, face paint, and his attitude is completely changed. He's not this timid science teacher. He's now the most, confidence not the word. How would you describe this gentleman in comparison to other Dr. Frankensteins you've seen before?
Yeah, I mean, there's like a cartoonish level of like unhinged that he has that, I mean, usually mad scientists, they'll like, oh, mad, but like, they'll like, but they mostly seem like just guys who are just like a little intense, but this is like just off the charts. Like, it's something totally different. I mean, I think that's kabuki theater is kind of like right. It's all kind of like heightened reality. It's not supposed to seem realistic in any way.
Exactly.
So yeah, I guess that kind of like goes together.
And his lab is actually, there's a locker. I mean, it looks like a storage, like a school locker. A tall, thin, vertical locker in the nurse's office that actually hides a stairwell that goes down into this secret laboratory, which, again, compared to other Dr. Frankenstein's laboratories, it's just a table, an electric drill, like a screw gun, and a jar of screws. Yeah. That's the extent of his materials. The nurse also has 2 giant butcher knives, and I think 2 small cattle prods that she uses in a scene, because we see they butcher the student who had been that they kidnapped out of the hallway. She starts hacking into his chest, and blood fountains everywhere. The vice principal is dancing around in the background, and then we get this weird music video-ish scene of him drilling different body parts together, and she's shocking them with her cattle prods, and there's a song going on that's like part in English, part in Japanese, that's like this cutesy song about like love, I guess. And
at some point in the midst of all this, he also has like like a human spinal column with the hips attached that he is holding like a guitar and like playing air guitar on it. I think that's while she's like butchering the guy and like blood spraying everywhere. Like this scene, if you hadn't figured out the vibe of this movie yet, like this scene really is letting you know, like, this is heightened reality. This is a cartoon. This is absolute like wackiness. And like, we're here to have a good time.
Well, and we understand that, like, they're obviously, I don't know if the music is playing out of a stereo, but they're like singing. He keeps singing, "I wonder if I can do it," while he's drilling the body together, and then the nurse says, "I wonder if he can do it." So I don't know if that's to show he's obviously not confident in his abilities, because we have this, blood and gore filled musical number of them hacking up this guy's body and drilling it together, and then what we end up with is just a torso with the legs where the arms should be. I didn't see the arms had gone anywhere, and the head is just completely gone. And he's like, "All right, well, it's finished." And they both stare at it, and he's like, "This one's not coming to life at all." And that's it. So he's not doing any real science. He's just kind of stapling things together and being like, crap, it didn't work again.
Yeah, it felt very like, I think it's like the second Reanimator movie where Herbert West is just like, I'm going to staple an eyeball to a hand and see what happens. But of course, Herbert West has the reagent and it works. Whereas here, we just have this grotesque sculpture that is nothing.
They'll give it a few minutes.
Yeah.
The scene after this one, did we go straight into the stalker scene?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay. So we cut away from failed experiment number 1, and we don't even get a moment to breathe. We find out that Keiko's plan to ruin Monami Alucard, and get Mizushima back is to send their teacher, the one that likes to stomp on chocolates, after Monami and be like, "I need you to get pictures of her, because I've heard a rumor that she goes to the park at night and does things with older men for money."
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where Keiko has heard this, but it appears to be true, because the teacher for their class shows up at night in a park, and we just see Monami standing there with her cape on. One thing that I thought was funny that didn't come up in the subtitles, the teacher is hiding behind a sign, like a black sign with white lettering on it. The sign says, "Beware of stalkers," and then has the phone number for the local police under it. So he's got this image of him, like, his hands out peeking around the sign, and the sign has an image of a person doing the same thing, peeking out around a sign. So I was like, that was clever. I like to think that sign actually existed, because I've seen signs like that in Japan in public spaces, like, be aware of being out here at night. And they were like, "Oh yeah, let's film this scene right here." That's funny.
Yeah, it is really
so
good.
I thought that was pretty cool. But what does Monami get up to in the park?
Yeah, so we have, like, there is a guy who, like, starts sort of hitting on her, and her mouth opens like way wide, it's like cartoonishly wide again. We have like CGI.
She looks like a Muppet. Like, it's a paper mache head that hinges at the back. So she turns into a Muppet for a second. We hear the same Jaguar yell again.
Yep, so she bites into the guy's neck. Blood is spraying everywhere. We see the teacher watching from his hiding place as she is dancing around in blood spray. I described it as like a shampoo commercial. Like like those herbal essence ones where it's just like she's like just showering in it, and it is like, sort of erotic to her that she's getting like drenched in blood.
The thing that was really cool, and it happens throughout this, because again, like, Yoshihiro Nishimura, the director of this one, has directed a lot of movies, and as an eye for like cinematography, it's great. It's a great looking scene. It's well lit, because Monami is spinning in circles as blood is raining down. Behind her, her victim, this other random, older dude in the park, is also kind of twirling in circles while 3 jets of blood are coming out of his neck. But also, when the image zooms out, you see blood like spraying in from the edge, and you can tell they've got like a hose hung up in the air, because you can see a jet of blood coming in from off screen. So it was all practical, which is cool, but they were like, I don't know, there's also blood just coming from other places, not just this guy's neck. Yeah. It did make for a cool looking scene. It just added to the kind of campness of it. Mm-hmm. And as she's twirling in this blood, the teacher is using his little digital camera and taking a series of photos. He's still like on the job. I don't know what Keiko promised him, but he's still on the job to try to catch out Monami.
Yeah, and is not running away from this obvious scene of horror. And of course, that doesn't go well for him. She sees him, and she also kills him.
Yeah, head unhinges. She turns into a Muppet again and bites him. And so then when it snaps back to school, we see like a missing poster, like, oh, this teacher's gone. In addition, we never hear about the poor student that got kidnapped and killed. We don't hear about him. It's also unclear to me. It makes it seem like all of this has happened on the same day. This seems like one school day's worth of goings on here in Tokyo High School, I think they call it, which is real creative there also.
Yeah, it's been a very busy Valentine's Day. And so then we have, like, I think Monami and Jugon meet on the roof of the school, and he's like, yeah, I heard about the missing teacher, and she's holding a bloody camera. And so she's like, yeah, I did that. And he's like, well, where's his body? And she's like, oh, Igor, the new janitor, he's my henchman, and he's burning it right now in the incinerator.
And we see inside of the incinerator, there's a very obvious plastic, like, blackened skeleton with the digital camera, I think, sitting on top of it, and yeah, our little guy Igor, who's an actor named Gigi Boo, who's very popular because he's got a very unique look to him. He's played a bunch of kind of like little creature feature monster stuff in Japan for a long time, so he's a pretty well-known kind of character actor.
Yeah, and so I think Jugon's like, I know he just showed up. What happened to did you kill the old janitor too? And she's like, yeah, I kind of had to. It's just convenient to have your slave like around where you can like boss him around and have him on the school payroll and everything. And so she's like, are you ready? Do you want to be a vampire and join me for life? And so I thought it was fun that like Igor in this is not, you have, Nurse Midori is the hinge person for the Frankenstein guy. Igor is the hinge person for the Dracula character here.
Yeah, I'm starting to think maybe nobody had read Murray Shelley's Frankenstein. They were like, we know in general what's happening. Because also, and I don't know how related this is, Midori means green in Japanese. So Nurse Midori is Nurse Green. So I didn't know if that was also a reference to Frankenstein stuff being green, or if that's just that could just be chance. I don't want to give him too much credit on any clever subtleties. But so yeah, Monami uses her fangs to poke a little hole in her bottom lip, and then they do share a passionate kiss where he, I guess, sucks a bunch of blood out of her lip, and now the transformation is complete. And we get a very, lovey-dovey, they're spinning in circles, and like, what a beautiful kiss. But then Keiko done ruins the moment and kicks the door open and wanders up onto the roof to see who she still thinks is her boyfriend, Mizushima, kissing this filthy slag, Monami.
Yeah, is this where she...
has a bit of a tumble?
Oh, yeah. So they, like, fight, and she gets knocked off the roof.
So Keiko gets knocked off.
Yes, yeah. She kind of, it's almost like a Toreador kind of thing. Like she goes running and ends up like kind of getting flipped over the balcony, and hits the ground, and obviously dies. She is just a person. She's not a vampire girl, and
there's students outside of the school that crowd around like, oh my gosh, and her head is popped like a water balloon. Like she's just in a puddle of blood, and so then everyone looks up and someone's like, oh, there's someone up on the roof. And so Monami grabs Mizushima and jumps off the other side of the school roof, and this is where we see that she can kind of flare her cape out to hover. She doesn't seem to have any other, like, sunlight doesn't seem to bother her, and she doesn't naturally have flight. We never see her turn into a bat, so I guess her version of being a vampire, she's long-lived and very durable, but she can only fly with her cape. So I don't know if it's a magic cape or what the deal is there.
Yeah, because there is a point later where she does not have her cape and she no longer can fly. Like it's
true.
It's in the cape.
So the two of them escape, and then I think as soon as that happens, we cut back to the nurse in the infirmary, and the nurse sees the blood on the ground. The single drop of Monami's blood on the floor of the infirmary, and she goes to clean it up with a mop, and it runs away from her like a Looney Tunes thing, like a little tiny drop of blood, which it makes little noises, like little like high-pitched like zipping noises. It runs away, and she tries to like trick it by she turns around and like isn't looking at it, and then is like, yeah, with the mop. And it runs up the mop and starts to sexually stimulate her. I don't know. I kind of was starting to get into a fugue state, but the drop of blood runs up the mop handle, gets under her clothing, and then she starts writhing in ecstasy while there's like 8 or 9 students pressed up against the glass of the door to the nurse's office, just watching her kind of get done over by some vampire blood.
Yeah.
Was that your read on that?
Yeah,
was I watching a different movie for a few minutes?
No, it was definitely, she was having some sort of sexual encounter with this blood. And by the end of it, she does manage to trap it in a test tube.
Yes.
And then
and it's still very flubber-ish. Like it will form into little shapes, and it will like move towards people, and it'll react to stuff, and she takes it down to the professor, who realizes, and this is his reagent, or not reagent, what's the word I'm looking for?
I think he maybe just calls it serum. Is that all what he...
Yeah.
But as far as like the car, like it moving, like there's a bit here where like he bites his nails and it causes like the cuticle to bleed, and the blood in the test tube turns into a little arrow and is like pointing at his blood, like it's trying so hard to touch his blood.
Yeah, it's so Looney Tunes-ish.
And so he's like, okay, well, let's see what happens. So he squeezes a couple drops of his blood into the test tube, which causes like a geyser of blood to shoot out of the test tube, like way more than could possibly have been in this tube. And this is when he's like, yes, this is the serum. This is going to work.
I forgot about a thing from when they're on the roof. When Mizushima drinks some of her blood, he travels back in time and sees her origin story.
Oh, he gets her memories.
Where Monami came from. Yeah, he gets her like memories and sees her as a small, like a very, very young girl who's with her mother, who she says was also a vampire, and they had left Europe, or she says, we left our home and came to Japan to escape vampire hunters. And so her and her mother are running through the forest in Japan, and they're being pursued by the Christian cleric Francis Xavier, being played by a Japanese man, but he's dressed like a Spanish, religious cleric. He's accompanied by a man with a Knights Templar tunic, blades for arms, and a metal skull cap. We have another insane fight scene in the woods between Monami's mother, who forms... Oh my god, this is coming back to me like a nightmare. She gets... The giant metal man that's accompanying Francis Xavier has a gun on top of his head. He tries to shoot at Monami's mother, who blocks it with a katana. He manages to get 2 shots into her feet. He hits her ankles on both feet. The blood comes out of her ankles and they turn into roller skates that she then uses to skate through the woods and kills the giant metal-covered man as he also mortally wounds Monami's mother. Francis Xavier comes over carrying a giant wooden cross that he then slams down into the ground into Monami's mother's heart, killing her, and then we're pulled back out of it. So this was her origin story. I can't believe that I forgot that entire scene happened.
It's absolutely and because I didn't know who Sir Francis Xavier was. I had to look him up, and he's a real historical figure who is known for having brought Christianity to Japan.
It's worth in here. He is played by a Japanese man.
And it's really good though.
Speaks Japanese.
When the camera first, I think it's starts at his feet and pans up to his face, and when it shows his face for a second, it's superimposed a painting, like an actual painting of
Francis Xavier.
Yeah, just like in case you're not recognizing this Japanese guy in like Spanish cleric's robes, this is who it's supposed to be, and then it cuts, just shows him for real.
So that would tell us that Monami's been at this since at least like the 1500s, because he was like early to mid 1500s was his whole deal. The blood roller skates, because we'd seen it once before with the blood swords forming, but her mother had a different jutsu that let her make, because they just turned it, they looked like circular saw blades, just one of those on each side of each of her ankles, and then she's doing like this super over exaggerated ice skating motion while the background behind her zips past.
Yeah, there's definitely
I'm starting to turn around. I think this movie might be amazing.
Yeah, I mean it is a great time. Like I wasn't bored for a second of this movie, for sure.
No. This was the first time in a long time where my wife came home halfway through. I turned off this movie as if I'd been watching porn, because like she can't know that I'm watching this, because we watch a lot of Japanese movies together. My wife is Japanese. It's like she can't know that I'm doing this. She's like, "What are you doing?" It's like, I was in the middle of something. And then I told her today, I was like, "Oh yeah, I've got to go record something with Anthony." She's like, "What about it?" Like, it's nothing. Just don't worry about it. So no one's allowed to tell my wife that I'm still watching this stuff. Right. So sorry, that happened as soon as Mizushima got the last little bit of blood out, or got a little bit of Monami's blood and finished his transformation. We see Nurse Midori capture the single bit of blood, bring it down to show to the professor. And then he realizes, like, this is it. This is what I've been needing the whole time. And then he finds out that his daughter has been killed.
Yeah, and the
Keiko has died falling off the roof.
Yeah, and the weirdest thing is, like, I would have thought, like, okay, this blood, it's got some sort of restorative vampire powers or whatever. I would think, let's inject this into a person. But instead, he pours it into a bucket of screws, which all sort of come to life into these weird little, like, worms, like the threaded little worm guys.
And they're making cute little, like me, like little cute character. But yeah, I realized that was my introduction at the beginning. But yeah, he turns metal screws into these organic worms that still have, like, screw heads on top of them. And this is when I realized that earlier, when we saw those 3 zombie girls at the beginning, they had, like, screw heads sticking out all over their bodies. So the 3 creatures we saw at the beginning were 3 other individuals that have been infected by these upgraded screws.
Yeah.
So yeah, then he finds out Keiko's been killed and is like, bring me her body, sort of.
And I think this is where, like, it's really clear that he is next level mad scientist, because there's a lot of versions of this scene where, like, either their wife or their girlfriend or their daughter or whatever dies, and they're like, well, I've got to use my science powers to bring them back, because I want them in my life or whatever. But he is like, yes, at last I can slice up my daughter's body. It's the sort of pleasure any man with a daughter dreams of. I can't wait to do this. Like, he wants her to be a monster. He doesn't just want to bring her back to life. He's excited to have her be part of his weird, fucked up experiments.
Yeah, on the previous episode that we did about the other Japanese thing, I will defend quite a bit of Japanese culture. This is one, there's no explanation for this. This is just perversion.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's way more excited than you would think about cutting his daughter up. And then presumably he's getting to work with that. And Monami's like, well, problem solved. Nothing else to worry about. Not that this guy, Keiko's fallen off the roof. And
we get sort of a montage here where, like, because she fell off the roof, obviously she's not fully intact. And so, I don't know if we even said the dad's name is Kenji, like, but he sends Midori out to find some more parts so that they can assemble her.
Yeah. And there's a splash screen that says, like, the Tokyo High School serial killings begin. Mm-hmm. And we see her collecting the perfect specimens. So this creature that's going to be built has to have strong, resilient arms. Well, who has better strong, resilient arms than the leader of the wrist cutting club, who we see at the beginning of that scene competes in the 13th prefectural wrist cutting competition where her and one other student are both they're going nuts on their arms. And it shows a close-up of like a pretty realistic looking mannequin arm that's flayed open and there's blood going everywhere. And then her competitor cuts too deep and cuts her arm off. So Tokyo High School's member of the wrist cutting club takes the trophy, which is a metal arm holding a box cutter. So then obviously Nurse Midori kills that student and cuts off her arms to then add to the monster. And then we also need a pair of very strong, fast legs. So she kills the leader of the Super Dark Club, who was emulating Florence Joyner, the professional runner. So now it's got, we have incredibly fast, strong legs. So yeah, we're harvesting all these different organs and bits from different people. But then the nurse gets like caught out.
Well, there's one other part we like, I think kind of glazed over this scene because it was kind of a nothing scene, but like once the professor from the beginning got killed, we have a substitute who comes in who knows nothing. He's Chinese, which I know Japanese and Chinese
in a racist way. This one was intentional. And he's got the Fu Manchu. He's got like a little kind of like beanie style cap. He's just called Chinese professor, and he's
introduced, like he's teaching the students about the Grudge movies, like comparing the Japanese versions to the American versions. Like that's what he's doing in class because he doesn't have any actual educational stuff to teach them. But now we're in the murder scene.
I know the line you're about to reference, and I'm remembering it, and I had tried to block it out because it's rough.
So they needed some super powerful lungs as well. And his are the best option because, as we all know, China is so polluted with car exhaust that they have to have super powerful lungs to survive the horrible atmosphere of this awful country that we hate. Like,
they also show him in class, like smoking 12 cigarettes at once. He's just got a fan of cigarettes in his mouth, like a cartoon character. Yeah. And Nurse Midori, like you see his body slumped on the ground. She killed them all in what looks like a shower room. All the students and people she killed died in the same kind of white tiled room. His chest is cracked open and she like is holding a pair of lungs. She puts her mouth on one of the lungs and just does this little like sip, and then is like like the amount of toxins that were still in there. Man, I'd blocked that one out too.
Yeah, and it comes up later. But then, yeah, as you said, at this point, she starts getting chased by a group called the Association to Save Tokyo High School Abductees.
Yeah, and it's students with like cardboard signs that say like "Stop the Hurt" or like "Find the Monster." They're like protesting. They're chasing her across the roof of the school while she's waving box cutters at everybody. And then she also falls off the roof and lands in the exact same spot that Keiko did.
Yeah.
And but her face is like mutilated, like like all torn up. And so they're like, okay, well, we've solved those murders. We can put that to rest. Again, to me, this has been 2 school days is what we've seen here, I think. This has all happened within a 48-hour period, as best I can tell.
Yeah. And so, while all of that's going on, or like while there's like a bunch of onlookers looking at this, dead woman, Jugon gets kidnapped by Keiko's friends who like drag him away. And then we see a little later, Monami finds a note written to her on a chalkboard in the school that says, to Monami Arukado, come to campus tonight from the revived Keiko. And it has like a photo of Jugon like taped to the chalkboard to let her know what's going on.
So, yeah, Monami always up for a challenge. And again, this has been the love of her life. We've got a Romeo and Juliet thing now. They've been the love of her life for 48 hours. She's got to go to his rescue. So she puts her cape on and shows up where every good fight in a Japanese anime or movie starts, in an empty school gymnasium. They always fight there. He's strung up on like a giant wooden cross attached to the wall.
Yes.
He's not like crucified. He's not nailed to it. He's just tied to it. Mm-hmm. And we see this nightmarish monster that Keiko has been turned into. Her father's also there. He shows up. He shows up in a little bit. This scene turns into just manic nonsense really fast. It's just Keiko there, right? Is her dad there yet?
I think her gang is standing around, the other girls, but yeah, I don't think the dad's there yet. And like Monami like drops down from the ceiling, all cool with her cape and everything. And basically she's like, sorry I'm late, I didn't really want to come. And they're like, well, yeah, because clearly I'm meant to be with Jugon, not you. And yeah, so we have the fight take place now. And yeah, as you said, this is like the cartoonishness like goes off the charts here. Keiko like
these are also actresses that are not good at fighting, which is not any like these are not people that were hired because they're good at fighting. So the fight scenes don't look great. They're very smash cut together, and we have a lot of people running at each other, and then some like weapons hitting sort of deal. But yeah, it seems like Keiko's going to overpower because she has blade-proof arms and Florence Joyner's legs, and
she can like take
Chinese
off her
lungs.
arms and like throw them like boomerangs, and they can like I think they cut Monami's wrists, which allows her to eject her blood blades.
Swords are back.
But yeah, the blades are not powerful enough to cut through the super strong wrists that she has. I like that we do get like a voiceover during the fight of Jugon being like, thus began the battle for love between the vampire girl and the Frankenstein girl. What, my feelings don't matter? Like, which like they don't. Like, this is I started to get the vibe that like this is sort of like a reverse Twilight. Like he's the Cypher Bella character. Like he doesn't really have any kind of personality. We just have the two monsters who are jealous and fighting each other, and he's just kind of along for the ride.
Yeah. So Keiko and Monami almost kind of fight to a stall. Keiko's gang of girls have like grabbed onto Monami and are holding her in place, and we're about to get the killing blow. And then a set of human like rib cage bones fly out of nowhere and grab a hold of one of the girls and like rip her to shreds. And then we see Igor in samurai armor made out of bones carrying a giant like hammer that's a human rib cage at the end, who's come to the aid of Monami, his mistress.
Yeah, this is great. Like I was like, okay, sure, bone samurai armor, hell yeah, let's see it. So Monami like is like, thank you, but you get Jugon to safety. I'll take care of the girls. But Keiko, realizing that the tides are starting to turn, she attaches that boomerang arm to the top of her head, spins it, and then she just like helicopter flies away like Inspector Gadget.
She turns into a helicopter, and she flies out of the roof of the school and is flying up Tokyo Tower. Yes. Yeah. Igor is able to take care of the rest of the girl because they were just normal human girls. Mm-hmm. This is where we get our three zombies later in the movie, or our three monsters. Mm-hmm. It's these three girls that were friends of Keiko that were killed in the gym and are obviously brought back later. Mm-hmm. So then Monami uses her cape to fly up after Keiko. And
that's when Kenji shows up in the gym, and Jugon's like, wait, is that the vice principal? Like, what?
Yeah, why are you dressed up like a Kabuki actor?
Yeah.
And he shows up with Nurse Midori, who he has also turned into a Frankenstein monster.
Yeah.
After she fell from the roof.
And she kind of has sort of Bride of Frankenstein-y hair, like it's teased up now. And her electric cattle prods from earlier have now been joined together into electric cattle prod nunchucks.
Is this the part also where she has human eyeballs for nipples?
I think yes. I think at some point earlier when he was before Keiko died, when he was right after Kenji figured out the screws could do this stuff, he started playing with like little sculpture things, and he made little finger eyeball things. And
it looks like a flower. Yeah, there's like fingers are the petals, and there's an eyeball in the middle. And yeah, those were his first thing that he had, like he never says it's alive, which is upsetting.
Yeah.
But yeah, he did make some little tiny creatures.
And Midori
and I remember
was
the nurse was like playing with them.
Yes, yeah.
Now they've been attached. She's still wearing her like nurse's outfit, but these two little finger eye flowers have been attached onto her right where like nipples would usually be.
Yes.
Just felt worth mentioning. Still no nudity, but there are some eyeball nipples if that's what you're into.
Yeah.
So now she's gonna Midori starts fighting with Igor.
Mm-hmm.
And Mizushima is still just useless watching all of this happen.
Yeah, so. I think as that fight starts to heat up, he's like, I'm gonna just back out of the gym slowly at this point. He escapes, and like outside, he like looks up at Tokyo Tower and sees the girls up top getting ready to face off. So this tower, like you can go up the tower in an elevator, right? Like.
Yeah, and there's like little observation platforms. There's nothing like what they show in the movie. So no, I don't think they got permission to close down Tokyo Tower and film this scene at one of Japan's most famous landmarks. No.
But instead of trying to go through the inside, he is just climbing up the outside of the building very slowly. I guess he is a vampire now, but as we said.
Yeah, but he hasn't showed anything that makes him look like anything more than an ordinary human being.
Yeah, he could definitely fall to his death here.
Yes.
But yeah, we see up top the girls are fighting.
Not a really great fight again. It's not what they were built for. So their fight's kind of lackluster.
Yeah, it's definitely relying on gimmicks. Like Monami throws Keiko into like a bunch of like girders that are just sharp and jutting out of this wall. And then like she's able to like make those little bits of girder. Like she just shoots them out of her body like projectiles at Monami.
Well, she also she has access to her father's drill that he uses. She drills a bunch of those girders together, so now her arms are like 20 feet long. She's got these really long metal girder arms with blades at the end of them. So now she's got like a giant spider kind of thing. She has two arms attached to the top of her head that now like spin in circles. Mm-hmm. She's gone like full helicopter mode.
Yeah, and then we see back in the gym, Midori's nipple eyeball things have like launched at Igor, and they're like trying to gouge out his eyes. They're like the fingers are like crawling around all over his face. And then back on the roof, Monami loses her cape. I think like the girder bullet things like hit the cape and cause it to like fly off of her. And as soon as she loses the cape, not only like we've seen her use it to like sort of fly, but also as soon as it comes off of her body, her blood blades just disappear. Like she has no special powers at this point.
Yeah. So the cape is where all the power comes from. Come to find out, who would have known? So Monami and Mizushima are both at the top of the tower, and they get kind of knocked off, so they're starting to fall, and she can't fly. So then Igor kills Nurse Midori. I don't remember how, but I remember he like crushes her with the giant wooden cross that Mizushima had been on. He looks up to see Mizushima is falling, throws the giant cross, and it sticks into Tokyo Tower and gives him a safe platform to land on. Mm-hmm.
And so he's then able to catch Monami as she's falling, but now they're like hanging off the side, classic, like, hanging off a cliff kind of thing. And
he swings her back up onto the board. Frankenstein Keiko is like plummeting down towards them, firing a bunch of other like metal shards. Mm-hmm. Monami gets back up on top of the wooden platform while Mizushima is still hanging onto it by his fingers. And she gets hit by dozens of these projectiles that are being fired by Keiko. And then she's like, "You've activated my trap card." Fires out a bunch of droplets of her blood that turn into little spikes, and then they fire up at Keiko. I'm phrasing all this as a question because I'm not confident I saw any of this actually occur. Thousands of little blood spikes fire up at Keiko, completely removing all of her flesh and her eyes and killing her. So now it's just this bony human torso with no legs and a helicopter blade on its head and long, like, gangly arms that then rockets up to the top of Tokyo Tower and is impaled, Vlad the Impaler style, on the spike at the top.
Yep.
Thus ends the tragic story of Keiko.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, sorry. My heart rate is at like 130 right now, looking at my watch.
And at that point, there's the cross breaks loose and they're falling again. Also, when Jugon lands on the cross, the cape drifts down to him, and so when he gives it back to Monami, that's how she's able to.
And that's how she was able to fire blood out.
Yeah,
right. A very important plot point. We'd hate for someone to find a faux pas in the story here.
But even so they're falling, but she has her cape, but the cape has too many holes in it from the metal projectiles, so it still can't fly. It gives her the blood powers, but not the flight. So she's like, I think it's strong enough.
Said, there's not enough for two people. So I was like, great. So now we're making fun of Titanic. This is great.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought too. So she puts the cape on him and then launches out blood Spider-Man webs basically out of her hand. And like,
yeah, it literally makes like a thwip noise, and she wraps it around one of the pillars. So now she's hanging, and Mizushima has landed on the ground, but the camera cuts back to her, and she's like, I'm feeling a little anemic.
Yeah.
And then her wrist like lasso breaks, and now she's free falling.
Yeah, so we have Jugon running in slow motion to try to get to her as she's falling.
Trips over his own feet and falls to the ground, watching the 48-hour love of his life plummet to the ground, surely to her death.
And we, as they're, like in sort of like classic anime style where like something can be happening forever and like we cut away from it. She's falling for a while. We do also get Igor defeating Kenji. Well, he's like, he's like, did you think that a mere custodian could defeat a vice principal? And then that's when the cross from earlier, it has been falling this whole time as well. It falls back through and impales Kenji. So
yeah, our mad scientist who's still dressed up like a kabuki actor.
But since now Igor is free of his fight, he manages to get to Monami as she's falling, and he catches her, before she hits the ground. Again,
Mizushima completely useless the whole movie.
And so he catches her like in his hands and like goes to hand her to Mizushima, and as he does, he just crumbles into dust. Igor just disintegrates.
Like the Knight Templar from that Indiana Jones movie. We see his face start to like crack into powder. And then again, they did some of this as like a practical effect, because as he puffs out into bone dust, big white flakes of this dust are like all over Monami's face and like all over Mizushima's. Like, so they felt the need to use a practical effect for like the little bits of bone getting on everybody.
Yeah. And this movie's so crazy that it's just like I keep remembering like little bits of things that are worth mentioning from earlier. Earlier there was a part when Mizushima finally decides to be a vampire. Part of the thing is he has that whole memory thing of like her whole life, and is like, she's been all alone her entire life. Like, of course she needs somebody to be with her.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I totally forgot about this plot point. This is like this is our M. Night Shyamalan twist ending to the story.
Yeah, so he's like he finally understands where she's coming from, and he wants to be there for her. He wants to be able to have this long sort of eternal life together where neither one of them is going to be lonely. But then so after Igor disintegrates into dust, we cut to back at the film's beginning / now our sort of present. They have to fight the other Frankenstein girls, and as they're like walking off into the sunset, Jugon's like, well, at least we have each other forever. And she's like, well, no, you saw what happened to Igor, right? Like, I can only make vampires for like 1,000 years and then they just disintegrate.
She says 100. She's like, yeah, after about 100 years they just kind of crumble to dust like that. And then she's like, and then walks away, and he realizes like, oh, I'm just a slave. I'm not the love of her life. I'm just going to be the Igor for the next 100 years.
Yeah,
Cool.
He's like, how many have there been before me? And she's like, I've kind of lost count. There's been a lot, but
there's been a lot. The line, the way they translate it, where she just says, after about 100 years, they just kind of crumble like that.
Mm-hmm. It's like, and then we get this sort of like great sort of like kaiju thing where like we have like a teaser for like another movie that will never happen.
Thank God.
The weird sculpture thing that Kenji made earlier just like appears before them kaiju style. It is now giant. It's huge.
And it's got the kabuki wig on and like the red and white paint. Mm-hmm. So it's a giant, and the name of it is just...
Yeah, doesn't it like
incredible.
It shows across the screen like a Power Rangers or Ultraman villain. It just says like Franken Advanced Composite Life Form, I think is what the subtitles say. And so she sees that and suddenly she like, kind of like freeze frame vamps out, her eyes go red, her fangs pop out.
Her eyes go yellow. She's got like cat eyes.
Yeah.
They've done practically. She's wearing like big giant yellow contact lenses. The couple other times when she went like full Muppet mode, you also saw that flash of like yellow eyes. Yeah. And then we hear that jaguar like meow again. So
yeah, and it freeze frames, and then we just like go to credits, which we see like shots from the movie, sort of like colored, psychedelic, and everything, and. There's like a song at the beginning when they're talking about Valentine's stuff that they bring back here at the end that's like one of those like classic sort of like Japanese like English pop songs where it's like some lyrics.
Yeah, it's a karaoke.
Like the first line is like some boys kissing, some girls hugging, or something like sort of nonsense, but you get the gist of it at least. Just like this really fun kind of poppy thing right after that ending is just a great way to kind of like cap this movie off.
Oh boy, yeah. I liked the other Japanese Frankenstein movie we did because like it had there was some cool kind of relevant cultural stuff, and it could be a little bit more academic. I don't know if we could do that so much with this one. It was still fun. I had a blast watching this. If you haven't ever seen Tokyo Gore Police, which again, the director of this movie, it's the movie he did the year before, it makes the movie make a lot more sense because his thing is these very, very kind of blown out caricatures and parodies. And in this one, caricaturing subcultures was a big part of it. Mm-hmm. The school was all these cliques, the Yangaru and Lolita, and even like the wrist cutting thing. There's a lot of references to that wrist cutting thing in Tokyo Gore Police as well. I don't know what Yoshihiro's hang up is with that, but this is definitely one of the more camp kind of movies I've seen out of Japan in a long time. So where does this one rank on the hierarchy of Frankenstein's stories?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly not faithful in any way to the the novel or most of the more common adaptations, but yeah, I mean, like I think the gore and the sort of campiness is definitely like around like the Reanimator style thing, which we've obviously done those in the past, and like it feels sort of like, of course, Reanimator is a little, I mean, I wouldn't say it's serious, but it's got a less cartoonish tone, especially the first one at least. This I think it's the high school thing. It's like it's it's sort of a parody of high school and of high school style movies. I mean, I'm more familiar with like American high school movies, but I'm sure that there are things like that, like a High School Musical or a American Pie or whatever. Like I'm sure that those tropes carry over into and just sort of focus more on like Japanese culture and archetypes and tropes and stuff, but.
It's like if we put Reanimator and then like Saved by the Bell and Frankenstein in a blender together and put it together and poured it into a sake glass. It's like, oh, that's what we got.
Yeah.
Because it is very distinctly Japanese. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of the references in there are things that there's some inside jokes and some kind of play on words stuff. And then why they were like, I don't know, Frankenstein's a Kabuki actor. Sure, let's go for that.
Yeah.
I can't for the life of me figure out why they did that.
Yeah, that's the most sort of like non sequitur thing in this. But I loved it because it was just so. I think it definitely is telling you like don't look at this as being any way realistic. Like, this is more Kabuki than reality. Like, as far as like cartoon, like to me the cartoonishness feels like a cartoon like Animaniacs or like the Roger Rabbit movie or something. Like it's like that, that heightened of cartoon. It's like it's beyond Looney Tunes. It's it's next level. And
the visuals and the sound effects and then the Tarantino-esque gore fountains, which Tarantino was inspired by the Japanese kind of blood fountain gore, so it's nice to see that still so alive and well.
It definitely feels like a lot of the back and forth between like Japanese culture and American culture is often we're borrowing from each other and heightening it and making it weirder. I mean, like Tarantino borrowing from Japanese stuff that's borrowing from American westerns. That's I think that this definitely fits into that sort of continuum of borrowing from from American cartoons, but also making reference to Japanese samurai movies. This looks like is it Yojimbo that has the like absurd blood fountain at the end? Like we're just kind of continuing this this conversation across the decades. It's the most heightened, silly version of that possible, but I think that that's also useful. Like, parody is important. It advances the conversation in a different way, So, like, there's not like you said, there's not a lot of, like, deep thematic stuff to dig into in this, but I do still think it's part of this sort of, like, this long sort of cultural story that is worthwhile, for sure.
And I don't know for certain that Francis Xavier wasn't a vampire hunter. I can't speak on that. So there could have been more historical relevance to this than we realize. I've been made aware in the last couple of years that Abraham Lincoln was a vampire hunter, which I had no idea about that. But the fact, if him, maybe Francis Xavier was first in a long line of famous vampire hunters. Yeah, who's to say?
Could be.
I sure had a heck of a good time. Thanks for letting me come back. One of these days, I guess I was on For the Substance. That was a relatively normal movie compared to the other two I've been a part of. But maybe I'll be on at some point for one that's like an earnest movie, not a caricature, which I do enjoy these as well. So.
Yeah.
I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll definitely have to have you back. I appreciate you especially stepping up. Like, I've kind of mentioned in our previous episodes that like Eric's sort of like taking a little hiatus for scheduling stuff, and so I really appreciate you helping out. Like, we've been talking about doing this for a while, and I was like, this is the time to do it. We can schedule it and get you in, and I'm glad you were able to do this.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, well, I guess I'll do our little spiel real quick. Of course, you can find us on all the socials at The Frankencast. You can email us at thefrankencast@gmail.com. We're also over on YouTube, and of course we're at patreon.com/thefrankencast, where you can get bonus episodes. Especially if you're missing Eric and you haven't been on there, there's tons and tons of a backlog. You can listen to old episodes of us talking about the Munsters and porn parodies and all kinds of nonsense. We'd love to have you over there. And then next week we will be talking about another absolutely bonkers movie, the sexploitation sci-fi classic, The Curious Dr. Hump. So join us next week for that. We will be joined again by our good friend Hayden Orr to discuss that one. And until then, to be continued.
Looks like you survived another episode. The Frankencast is a production of FCR Media. It's hosted by Anthony Bowman and Eric Velasquez. Follow us on Twitter at The Frankencast, or send us a letter at thefrankencast@gmail.com. Our cover art is by Amanda Keller. You can find her at Keller Illustrations on Instagram. Our theme music is by Vivek Abhishek. Thanks for listening.